Hello, welcome to another Tech Talk. Today I want to show you this little box. This is a preamp by the company FireEye. This is the Red Eye, which I bought about a year and a half ago. And a preamp is really important for passive piezo pickups. So when you have an electric violin with a piezo pickup, something like this is a pickup that mounts on your bridge, either below the E string or on the other side below the G string, depending what kind of sound you like. This one is by the company K&A, and this is the VV3. I also we're gonna make a video maybe about pickups at one point. They have a brand new one out which has a wireless connection. This one is the old-fashioned one, true passive. There's no volume button on this side. It's just the jack, right, for a quarter inch. And the cable goes, I taped it to the violin, so I didn't want it to make noise when I play. So, and it's gonna clamp into the E string. And as you can see, I can carefully remove it. And I can also put it back in. And all piezos are very bright, especially on a violin E string. You're gonna find it very harsh. The higher you play, it picks up any bow stroke. I'm gonna demonstrate that in a second. So a preamp will most likely or hopefully warm up your sound and make your violin sound better, and also give you a stronger signal, because again, this guy doesn't amplify anything. It just picks up the vibration, brings it to the jack, and off you go to the engineer or your amp, right? So it all depends what gear you have to make the sound warmer, richer, fatter, and nicer. And maybe some of you have the bags, the eye boxes, or radial, great companies, good products, or the Fishman ones. They all are different. I have a big one I use when I tour. This one actually when I go for important shows. This one is by Grace Design, wonderful company. They do phenomenal preamps. And this one, of course, runs you at about $750. So you can understand when you fly and you check it in with your gear, you don't want it to be lost or stolen, or anybody, step on it, or I don't know what happens on a stage, right? So I found for certain gigs, I don't want to take this premium model with me. I mean, this has, as you can see, a lot of EQ options, a lot of in-out options. It's well built. I have my personal settings actually marked on the front. So different video in the future. I love this one. This is phenomenal. But again, sometimes you just need a little bit and you don't want to bring this. So that's why I got this little device, and you can see how small it is. It's very light. It doesn't have that much to offer, but I think it's enough. And it's $220. Street price might be $199. Maybe you find a used one somewhere else on reverb.com or other sites, maybe for $180. It has only a few things. It has a input for your quarter inch, so no XLR input, right? It doesn't work with your microphone. It's it's quarter inch only. It has a boost button, which I love. So when you play a solo, you can hit it, the light will light up, and you can control the boost amount, of course, with the boost switch. And in the center, it's neutral, and you can boost it either way up, or you can take it down and get softer, whatever your choices are. On the other side, we have the treble knob, which in neutral is pretty much unaffected. That's what they say on their website. And if you crank it up, it's gonna boost the highs, and if you go down, it's gonna lower the high end. And I will show you that later on an EQ graph I did in Cubase, my digital workstation, so you can see what this button actually does. But let's hear it. Let's see how this comes together. I'm gonna play a little bit without it, and you can hear how my violin sounds through this Fishman. This is a loud box. I have all the settings here. The anti-feedback is not important, but EQ are all straight up, and a little bit of volume, and we're gonna hear how this K&A pickup is gonna sound. So let's hear this piezo without any warming up, any EQ, straight out of the box. Here you have it, right? That is that harsh tone you do not like, especially if you play in a venue that cranks you up and you play a solo, unless that's your sound you're after, fine. But I think in most cases you don't want that kind of, harsh high end. So if you don't have a preamp, what you do is you go to your amplifier and hopefully you have a high button, like a roll off, and I have one. So if I roll the highs off here, see, for me that's already way nicer and way better, but it doesn't change the tone. It's still kind of thin, right? So let's see what the DI box does to change this. So I'm gonna put the DI box between the violin and the amp, and let's see how that sounds. Okay, so I forgot to mention you what's happening up here. We've got one output on this side. This is the XLR output, which would go to the engineer, to the house, or even to your amp. But I personally like to get my amp, the feed from the other side, from here. This is the effects return. You can either have an effects pedal looped in, which means signal goes out to your reverb, delay, echo, whatever, comes back in, right? And then out on this side. Or what I do, I would hook up my amp here, so I have individual control on stage, my personal monitor, and it doesn't affect the house. Whatever you do is on stage, and the sound engineer gets your straight signal through this cable. There's a battery in the back. This runs on battery if you want to, but keep in mind, it's nicely put together with screws. So if you change your battery 5 minutes before the gig, have a screwdriver ready, because this doesn't just come off. You need to really unscrew 4 screws and get the 9-volt battery in, okay? I like it. It's well built. It's good for the road, but have a screwdriver or have a crew member who has one, right? Important. If you want it powered through the XLR, you can. This takes phantom power. So the power comes to this cable, and on your amp, you hit a button. And once you hit the button, actually, you can see the light go on. So I'm going to hit the phantom button. Here you go. So now phantom is on the box. The box is active. It's ready to go. So let's give this a try. See what it does with the preamp in the middle. And watch your gain. This is going to be harder. Again, the preamp, it's called preamplification, is going to increase the signal. So be careful when you bring back the signal on the amp. So I find it already nicer and warmer, and you can scroll back the video and check out when I played without it and compare sonically how you like that better. Now for me, the E string still, it's a little on the edge, right? So, and I don't want to touch it here. Let me try this treble button on the DI box. So I'm gonna move this down all the way. Let's see what happens. See, it took away a lot of highs. If I go the other direction, now I'm going up all the way on the other side. Yeah, see, you don't want that. That's for maybe a pickup that is really bad and really dull, and you need some brightness. Yes, you can increase that, but I rather would have that treble knob pointing towards you go down a little bit, right? Sounds better. So here we have it. So a tiny little preamp makes, I think, a big difference in your tone. And again, it depends also on your pickups. If you have a bags pickup that goes into the bridge, different frequency response. So you have to play with that button and see if it makes it better or worse. You know, you be your own judge on that. I want to show you what actually happens with the treble button. You can see the frequencies. So blue is the center, which means the knob is in the center. And this is how the signal would just, read the frequencies, right? That was a piece of music with some bass, and, the highs always roll. They go down anyway. Now, if you boost it up all the way, and you can see that color, right? You see the difference? So there's a serious boost, I would say, minus 12, maybe minus 9, between 2 and 3 dB. So this is why it got so harsh. So it's going to boost everything in this high-end range between 2K and of course 20. Not too much on the low end and the middle, which is great. But the E string for violinists, right? The harshness sits around 3K or 7K. Those are your critical points for violinists. Everything gets boosted. So that's why you don't want that. And I like the other version. So let's switch over to the other one, which is the center and the down position. So as you can see, this is the original audio how it played, and if I move it down, everything actually goes down. So you got to be aware that even your mid-range and the low end, which doesn't apply to you, this is 100. Violin starts around 180 for G string, right? So 220 is your A string. So you start here, so you don't have to worry about that. But it goes down in the mid range, but then of course it takes it way down also, and seems to be a big gap, -12 to -18. This could be -5, dB. So that's why you got to be careful how much you roll off with that treble button. Don't overdo it, but you can certainly sweeten your entire, higher frequencies, right? Which I find great for violinists. You can see how what they have on their website. I put the link in the description below. They've got a bunch of different items. They have a small one. They've got a larger unit. They have one, without the bells and whistles, without the XLR, just for 1/4 inch. They have one for 2 inputs, right? And they always have a volume a boost button, which is awesome. And I think when you're playing a quick gig and that's all, even you take without your amp. I have this sometimes when I travel. I just grab my cable, I grab my violin and this little box, and it just makes me happier on the gig. And you know what? I can actually control some of the high end a little bit myself. So that's it for today about the Red Eye preamp. I think it's a cool device. And if you want to check it out, links below to the company. And here we go. Thank you for watching, and until next time. Thanks. Bye.